Comparisons of country military power against country in terms of number of personnel and military equipment. The numbers mentioned in the video may change over time. Prime Minister of Malaysia Ismail Sabri Yaakob and Prime Minister of Singapore Lee Hsien Loong. Area of Malaysia 3,030,803 km and Singapore 729 km. Global rank of Malaysia 48 and Singapore 40. GDP of Malaysia 439.37 billion and Singapore 425 billion. Capital of Malaysia Kuala Lumpur and Singapore City. Populations of Malaysia 33.11 million and Singapore 5.82 million. Defense budget of Malaysia 3.8 billion and Singapore 11.40 billion. Active personnel of Malaysia 1,015,000 and Singapore 60,000. Reserve personnel of Malaysia 52,000 and Singapore 2 million. Combat tanks of Malaysia 48 and Singapore 170 plus. Armored car of Malaysia 848 and Singapore 435. Armored vehicles of Malaysia 1,380 and Singapore 3,517. APC of Malaysia 434 and Singapore 1,837. MRAP of Malaysia 186 and Singapore 120. Rocket projectors of Malaysia 54 and Singapore 24. Third artillery of Malaysia 196 and Singapore 77. Attacked aircraft of Malaysia 12 and Singapore 0. Training aircraft of Malaysia 39 and Singapore 36. Fighter aircraft of Malaysia 26 and Singapore 100. Strategic bombers of Malaysia 0 and Singapore 0. Stealth bombers of Malaysia 0 and Singapore 0. Tanker aircraft of Malaysia 4 and Singapore 11. Transport aircraft of Malaysia 18 and Singapore 9. Ox aircraft of Malaysia 4 and Singapore 4. Total aircraft of Malaysia 156 and Singapore 244. Attacked helicopters of Malaysia 0 and Singapore 18. Total helicopters of Malaysia 41 and Singapore 79. Electronic warfare of Malaysia 0 and Singapore 0. Nuclear weapons of Malaysia 0 and Singapore 0. Submarines of Malaysia 2 and Singapore 5. Helicopters carriers of Malaysia 0 and Singapore 0. Aircraft carriers of Malaysia 0 and Singapore 0. Destroyer of Malaysia 0 and Singapore 0. Corvettes of Malaysia 6 and Singapore 6. Oil productions of Malaysia no data and Singapore 00 BBL.